Yeah, you're
Shall I
going to
go?
share the screen, right?
I'm going to share my screen. That's correct.
Okay, okay.
Do I need to have hosting rights for this, or can I just
Yeah,
share?
you can share the screen. It's fine.
Okay, perfect. Caria? We'll just wait for her to.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, hello. Sorry, I have some audio problems.
Yeah, we are able to hear you, Caria.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So let's start the session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for your participation today. Thank you, Joining Campus, for the invitation. So I am Caria Sison. I am in charge of the Asian region here at Montpellier Business School. And recently, my colleague Vivek was here with us today. He has joined our team. So in addition to my colleagues here on screen, we're also covering the other zones in different countries. We also have Vivek, who is our local representative in India. Okay. So let's start first with the key points of Montpellier Business School. As you know, some of you are probably familiar with the school already because we have been working with you for a number of years now. So Montpellier Business School, it's of course one of the oldest business schools in France. We have been here since 1897. We've celebrated our 150 years last year. And of course, with this history, it's also a proof of the quality of the education that we give to our students. And in relation to that, it is also a triple accredited French business school, as you can see here on screen. So the main accreditations, of course, are the AACSB, the EMBA, and the EQUIS accreditation. For the French accreditations, we are part of the Conférence de Grandes Écoles. So it is a group of different schools in France, usually management and engineering institutions that, of course, also show the quality of our education, as well as the competence, of course, of our professors who teach our students. And then internationally, we are also ranked in several rankings, especially, for example, the most notable ones are the Financial Times ranking, where our Masters in Management is among the best in the world. I think for now it's between 50 to 60. And MBS is also ranked nationally as one of the as one of the best business schools in France. So that's it for rankings and accreditations. You can now move on. Okay, so usually when we promote Montpellier Business School, we start with the bigger picture first. So this is France. As you can see on screen, here are some key points on why Indian students are encouraged to choose France for their higher education. Of course, it will also depend on their personal and professional reasons for wanting to choose France. For example, one of those reasons that I want to highlight is that France is a country that welcomes students from around the world. Each year, I think the country welcomes over 400,000 international students from all nationalities. And of course, this brings a vast knowledge from all of these students coming from around the world. And of course, as you know, professors and instructors also in different schools and universities also come from different countries. Another thing I'd like to highlight about France is that, of course, it's a top world economic power, which also translates to the possibilities of employment for students who complete their studies here in the country. And related to that, of course, as you know, Indian students have the stay back option of 2 years after their graduation, which allows them to either start their own company here in France or to find employment after they complete their studies here. And also what's nice about France is because with one student visa, of course, they are able to enjoy the different parts of France, but they also have the opportunity, for example, during their school breaks, to discover many other countries in Europe, because their French student visa gives them access to visit 27 Schengen countries as well. And of course, as you know, France is an ideal location to be a student because of its rich cultural heritage. And students also benefit from many discounts if they want to go to concerts, to museums, to sporting events, and all of these are available all throughout the year. So students, of course, while their priority will be their academics, they will also not get bored because there are many different things to do and different places to visit while they are studying here in France. Okay, let's move on. Thanks, Vivek. So after France, let's go on a smaller level in terms of Montpellier. So the school, of course, with its name, it's Montpellier Business School. We're a top, highly ranked French business school located in the south of France. Common question that we get from Indian students is, of course, where is Montpellier? It's not surprising that maybe that they will know Paris because it's a capital, or other, let's say, bigger cities, maybe like Lyon or Marseille. But Montpellier is ideally located in the south of France, near the Mediterranean coast. It's easily accessible by train. So for example, Paris is only 3 hours and 30 minutes away by high-speed train. If they want to go to Spain, we're not so far from the Spanish border. And let's say Barcelona is only 3 hours away by train as well. And of course, because of this accessibility, we have an airport, we have 2 railway stations that can take us to different places in France and of course throughout Europe as well. The weather here is also a question that we get asked. It's a very nice city because we have over 300 days of sunshine. Now it's spring, we're heading towards the summer. There's a lot of things to do in the city, and of course, as students, maybe of course coming from India, they might be used to bigger cities. But what's nice about Montpellier is that transportation is reliable, and by the end of the year, it will be free for all residents of the city. So that's one less expense that they will have to worry about. Then, since we're talking about expenses, in terms of the cost of living, as you can see on screen, it will vary, of course, depending on the lifestyle of the students that we have. But let's say a safe amount be between 700 to 900 euros. So this already takes into consideration rent, food, going out, and other miscellaneous expenses. And of course, as you know, when the students start applying for their visa with Campus France and the French Embassy, they will ask for a minimum amount to show that they can cover all the expenses that they will need while they are students in France. So again, Montpellier is a nice and vibrant city with a lot of sunshine, many different activities and events all throughout the year, like what I mentioned earlier. If they like music, sports, art, culture, hiking and visiting nature, there are many different spots not so far from the city that they can visit. So it's really an ideal place to be an international student here in Montpellier. Next. So moving on in terms of scholarships and financing, as you are aware, this is also one of the common questions that we have. Sorry, I think okay, it's back. So in terms of scholarships, there are 3 main ones. So the first one, you have to go back. Yeah, sorry. So the first one will be the MBS scholarship for international students. So what does this mean? So once a student submits their application, of course, through the help of Join in Campus, they are immediately part of the pool of all applicants for scholarships. But the final decision will be based on the overall quality of their application. So we will look, of course, at their performance during the different tests and the interview, as well as the evaluation of their previous grades and experience if they already have that. So the MBS scholarship is either 1,000 or 2,000 euros. based on the overall quality, so the score of their performance in the different application steps. So after that, for local scholarships in India, the government may have some scholarships for international students, and I'm sure you will be able to provide your candidates with enough information about local Indian scholarships for students who want to pursue their studies abroad. And finally, for Campus France, of course, it's one of the actors in French higher education that we work a lot with. So this will be either through Campus France or the French Embassy in India. They have the Charpak scholarship every year. The only difficulty with this is that their deadline is usually early. If I remember correctly, this year it was in February or March. So it means that the students must submit their applications both to MBS and to Campus France as early as possible. And in addition to that, Campus France also heads the applications for the Eiffel Scholarship from the French Foreign Ministry. This is open to students applying not for the bachelor's degree, but for a master's degree. This usually covers a part of the tuition fees. They also get an allowance, their travel, so their train and their plane tickets are also covered by the French government. But again, similar to the scholarship from the French Embassy in Campus France, the deadline for this one is usually early in the year. It's, if I remember correctly, sometime in January. So again, it's another opportunity to encourage our students to apply early to the school. Then for the Eiffel Scholarship, the school will refer their application to Campus France. So the students cannot apply directly for the Eiffel Scholarship. Then Campus France will make the final decision in terms of the awardees of the Eiffel Scholarship. So these are the three main scholarships.
Madam,
Yeah.
ma'am, I do have some doubts. Can I?
Of course.
Yeah, ma'am, like you are saying, like regarding the scholarship. So if the student is having a genuine experience of like 3 to 4 years of experience,
Yes.
so he does he eligible for the scholarship?
Which one? Is it from Campus France or the MBS scholarship?
It's MBA regarding.
Okay, so for MBS, yes, of course, like what I said at the beginning, all applicants are immediately part of the pool of candidates for the scholarship, and the final decision will be made based on the overall quality of the application. For Campus France, yes, I believe as long as they're applying for a master's degree, for the Eiffel Scholarship, for Charpak, I think it's also a master's degree. We'll have to double check if bachelor students are also eligible for this, but of course, it's not a problem if they do have a work experience. They are still eligible for a scholarship, yes.
I mean to ask you is like after bachelor's, if the candidate is having his experience, so he'll be eligible for scholarship, right?
We'll have to double check, but as far as we know, yes, it shouldn't be a problem. Yes.
Okay, fine. Please continue, ma'am.
Okay. Then, yeah, that ends my part for the scholarships and introducing France and Montpellier to our candidates. Then I'll give the floor to my colleague Vivek, who will be discussing the different programs that we have here at Montpellier Business School. Go ahead, Vivek.
Thank you, Caria, for your presentation, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Very glad that you could be part of our session. Would be happy to answer any questions that you have at the end of the session. So please do write them in the chat box, or you can address us directly by unmuting yourself. So we're just going to have a refresher on the programs. As I'm sure you're aware, MBS offers 3 main programs: the Bachelor's of International Business Administration, or the BIBA, the Grande École program, which is the Master in Management, and the MSc, the Master of Science program. Those are our 3 main programs that we offer. So just to inform you, a quick refresher on the BIBA program. It's a 3-year program. The cost of the program is 9,700 per year. And the ideal student body that we're looking for are high school graduate students who are currently in their 12th grade, looking to apply for France for higher education. We have 4 possible tracks. open to students, the Business Pro track, the International track, the Global track, and the North America track. For Indian students, we have seen that the Business Pro and the International tracks are the most popular and most convenient that students tend to opt for. And this program is taught bilingually or fully in English. So in case you do have students who are fluent in French, they can also look at a bilingual track. But most students tend to opt for the full English track. Then moving on, we have the Grande École program, the Master in Management. The duration for this is 2 years. So if a student has a 3-year bachelor's degree, they would be eligible for a 2-year MIM. Even if a student has a 3-year or more bachelor's degree or master's degree, they will have to do the 2-year MIM. You cannot do a 1-year MIM program. So the cost for this is 13,700 per year, and this also is bilingual or fully English, so students will choose the fully English track. There is an
Sorry to
yes,
interrupt. This
yes.
is Vinod Khanna.
Hi,
I just
Mr.
want to understand what are the advantages for bilingual track?
So if it's the advantage is that students would be able to maybe work on their French a little bit more, but it's the program structure is the same. It's just that students who are fluent in French can also look at learning the course in French as well as English. Caria, if you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But
And just to add to that, for the bilingual French track, we also require students to have a minimum B2 level of French. So that's like the upper intermediate level that is required. And another advantage maybe is that they have the option to go on an apprenticeship program. So that means this is only for the bilingual track. So that means that during the 3rd and final year of their MIM, they can work in a company and the company will be paying for their tuition fees. So they spend, let's say in 1 month, they spend 3 weeks at the company, then one week here on campus to do their classes and their schoolwork. But again, the apprenticeship track is only open to those who will take the bilingual French and English track of the MIM.
thank you, Caria. So it's very important when counseling students.
Sir, sorry,
Yes,
sir, this
Mr.
is
Amar.
Amar.
No.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sir, like you have mentioned, like 2 to 3 years of duration. So
It's a
that means
2-year
the program
duration for most students.
2-year duration. So the next 1 year will be, internship, right? That's
No.
what you have mentioned.
So the program is technically 3 years, but the first year is not counted for most students who come from India because they already have a 3-year bachelor's. Only if you have a 2-year bachelor's degree is when you will be required to do a 3-year MIM. But most students in India already have a 3-year bachelor's degree or more, so they will only have to do a 2-year MIM.
Okay, if the student is having a 4 years bachelor's degree, then what? And having experience.
They still have to do a 2-year MIM.
2 years,
There's no
right?
1 year MIM. It has
There
to
is
be,
no 1 year.
yeah, it has to be
Okay,
2 years.
okay.
If they have 3 or 4 year bachelors, it will always be the 2-year MIM. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Amar. In case you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask us, and we'd also be happy to assist you at the end of the session as well. So moving on to our last programs, the MSc, the Master of Science. So we have 10 Master of Science programs. They run in the spring intake as well as the fall intake. So the cost for 1-year MSc is 16,000 euros. The cost for 2-year MSc is 25,000 euros. And the MScs are taught fully in English. So just to recap, if a student has a 4-year bachelor's degree, they would be eligible for a 1-year MIM. If a student has a 3-year MSc, and they would be, if a student has a 3-year bachelor's degree, they would be eligible for a 2-year MSc. Are there any questions for this? Okay, so I'll just move on to the MSCs that we have. So as you're aware that we have 10 MSCs. Now moving on to the spring intake, which is in January, we only have 4 MSCs which are running for students who have a 4-year bachelor's degree, because these MSCs are only for 1 year. So if you have a student, for example, who has a 3-year bachelor's degree plus a master's, then they would be eligible for the 1-year MSc. Or if you have a student who's done a 4-year bachelor's degree directly, they would be eligible for the 1-year MSc. But the fall intake MSc still runs the same.
It's only
So
for
just-
the January intake that
It's
there's
only for
this-
the
yes,
January.
that there's this constraint for the 1-year MSc, and those are the ones that are marked in red.
Red.
Yes.
Are there any questions for this?
I think we're okay. Yeah.
Perfect. So just to move on to how the program is structured. So these are the tuition fee. You can see the programs here, the BBA, the Master in Management, and the MSc. You have the tuition fee over here. So a minimum degree required for students for the BBA would be a high school degree minimum. For the Masters, it's management. It's students with a 3-year bachelor's degree, because those are most programs which are taught in India are 3 years. And for the MSc, it's for students with a 3-year bachelor's degree or a 4-year bachelor's degree. And these are the eligibility criteria, which you can see on the right. Are there any questions for this? Anything you need clarified?
Yeah, please.
Yes,
This is
yes,
Amar.
Mr. Amar. Yeah.
For the students with 3 years bachelor's degree minimum, what we are looking into is 16,000 is per annum, right?
No.
The
So
complete
this is
program.
for which? This is, I'm assuming this is for the MSc.
Yeah, the MSc only.
The MSc.
I'm
No,
talking
it's
about MSc.
25,000 for 2 years.
2-year program. Then for the 1-year program, so those who have a 4-year bachelor's degree or a 3-year plus a master's degree, it's 16,000. So yes.
Okay. Here it is mentioned 16,000 euros for the student with a 3 years bachelor's degree minimum. And it's been mentioned 25,000 euros for the student with 4 years bachelor's degree.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite. It's
Yeah.
an error on our end.
Sorry. Yeah, it's opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1-year MSc, meaning those who have a 4-year bachelor's degree or a 3+1 bachelor's plus master's, it's going to be 16,000 euros. Then for those with a 3-year bachelor's degree, they will have to take the 2-year MSc for 25,000. Yeah, sorry for the typo.
Oh, yeah. Now I got it. No, I got it. I got your point. Okay.
No worries, Mr. Amar.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So moving on to the admission requirements. So for the BBA and the Masters in Management, it's a pretty straightforward application online. You have to submit your CV, the transcripts of the last 3 years. So for the BBA, it'll be your 10th, 11th, 12th grade mark sheets. And for the MIM, it's going to be your transcripts, which the student has, and their previous higher degree. So if the student does not have their degree yet, they can submit a provisional certificate, which
Yes,
can
that's
also
correct.
be used in lieu of their degree. That's not a problem.
But eventually they'll have to submit a diploma once they have it.
Yes. The only condition, the only constraint here is for the bachelor's degree, where Campus France will require them to submit their 12th grade mark sheet for assessment of their documents. For the master's program, it's fine if they can use the provisional certificate, but for the bachelor's degree, Campus France will require them to submit the 12th grade mark sheet. So please ensure that all your students who are applying for the bachelor's degree have their 12th grade mark sheet before they apply for Campus France. So just going on to the application process. So it's an online application. Once you submit your documents, you will have to take a reasoning test, on a logic and reasoning test. So if a student does not have a GMAT or GRE, we advise them to take our free logic and reasoning test, which is provided by the school. Similarly for the English test, so if the student does not have an IELTS or a TOEFL, they can use our free English test, which is provided online. And then they'll have to do a pre-recorded interview, which essentially means that they'll be given prompts on a screen and they will have 3 to 4 minutes to answer each question. Are there any questions for this? Does anyone have any questions or doubts about the admissions process? Okay.
Yeah, I do have.
Yes,
I
Mr.
do
Ram.
have.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. See, is IELTS is mandatory for institution?
Yes.
English requirement is mandatory. So if they don't have an IELTS, they can do the free English test online, but this is only for the bachelor's and the master's in management. I'll be coming on to the MSc in the next slide. But yes, we do have an English language requirement, which is needed for them to apply to the school.
This is for everyone, even for native English speakers or for students coming from countries where English is one of the official languages. Yes, we do require either the IELTS or any official external English test. Or, of course, if they don't have it, we do have, like with what Vivek said, the free MBS online English test. So yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
No worries. Any other questions? Yeah. Okay, so I'll just move on to the MSc program. So for the Master of Science program, they need to submit a resume, an SOP, the transcripts of the last 3 years of study and their previous high degree. As mentioned earlier, if they don't have their degree, they can submit their provisional certificate, which basically states that they've passed out from the college and are just awaiting their degree. That's also fine. For the MSc, the application process works a little differently. So you submit an online application. There is no English test for Indian students, as the language of instructions in most of our universities and colleges is already English. And you have a live interview with someone from the campus, with the head of the program from the that they will be interviewing with. So does anyone have any questions regarding this?
And it's the same, just to add, sorry, it's the same procedure whether they apply for the 1 year or the 2 year MSc.
Yes. Okay, so I think that's the end of the presentation. I will stop sharing my screen. We'll be happy to take your questions. We just got a question: which intakes are available for the bachelor's and master's? So for now, for the bachelor's and the MIM, the master in management, it's just the fall intake, so the one in September. But for the MSc, it's the fall intake, which is in September, as well as the spring intake, but just for the 1 year MSc program.
And the 4 specializations. Yeah. Maybe we can go back to that slide.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen just to clarify. It's this one, the ones marked in red.
That's only for the January intake. So 1 year MSc and the ones marked in red. So 4 specializations out of the 10. But everything else is available for the traditional fall intake that starts in September.
Sorry, can you, if you don't mind, can you repeat it? Like, so January is a major intake. Like, I mean, what are the options we do have for the Jan intake? Like
only the 4 MSCs that are highlighted in red.
Red color, right?
Red color, that's correct. And it's only for 1 year. We do not have a 2 year MSc option for now for the January intake.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Vivek.
No worries.
But again, everything else, the 10 specializations.
Vivek, maybe you can, inform them about the initial deposits once they get the offer letter, that basic process and all, right?
Sure. So once the student completes the application, and they're
we can go maybe to the slide where we explain the different steps. Yeah, there. Perfect.
Yeah. So after they complete essentially the last step, which is the pre-recorded interview and the live interview for the MSc, they will have to deposit a non-refundable payment of 3,000 euros. The only instance in which the deposit would be refunded would be in case of a visa refusal.
Or if they don't
or extenuating circumstances, if there are anything urgent. Do language test certificate mandatory for bachelor's? So again, as mentioned, if a student does not have any English language certificate like an IELTS or TOEFL, they can do our free language test. But yes, a language test certificate is mandatory for applying to the bachelor's program. So they can either do an IELTS, TOEFL, or our free English test, which is provided by the school.
So Vivek, if they had studied their last education in English, then we can proceed with the medium of instruction letter, right? MOI.
No.
During the application.
They will
for the bachelor and MIM, no, they still need to either.
Not for bachelor's and MIM. For MSc, we can do.
For MSc, yes.
For MSc, it's not a problem. For MSc, it's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the initial deposits will be same for all the programs.
For all the programs.
So it's 3,000 euros. That's a deposit. That will be deducted from the total tuition fees of the first year. Then the rest of the tuition fees can be paid in monthly installments once they arrive in France.
But if the student wishes to make the payment in monthly installments, they need to request
No,
for
no,
the
no, no.
same.
Please. Can you once again repeat it? Like for 3,000 euros, you're saying that it's in repaid in installment. What exactly is that?
No,
How
no,
the
no. The
procedure?
3,000 payment will not be made into installments. The semester
Okay.
fees payment, which follows, which comes after they have paid the deposit, can be made in
Okay.
installments.
And once they arrive here in France.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
remaining
Thank you.
fees, Amar, they can pay through installments if they have any financial issues, or else they can pay the fees in one slot.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So Caria, what will be the approx, the application deadline for fall intake?
Okay. So for the fall intake, so the first day of class will usually start during the first week of September. For the fall intake, we suggest that the students finish their applications by mid to at the latest the end of June, meaning they should have already submitted their applications through our online portal, because as you know, the Campus France procedure can take a while, sometimes a month or more, and we don't want them to be late for the September intake. So
Of course,
ideally,
it's better they should apply, earlier.
earlier, exactly. So between the 15th to the 30th of June for all the applications to be in our system. So that gives them enough time to take the tests, the English and the logic and reasoning test if they're applying for the bachelor's and the MIM, plus schedule their interviews either live or pre-recorded. Then of course our international admissions team will have to evaluate their applications, and it will take a bit of time between, let's say, 1 week to 2.5 weeks before the results come out. So let's say this is already July. Then from then they will have to apply to Campus Transfer their student visa, which will again add an additional, I don't know, 3 weeks minimum before they get their student visa. So yes, ideally between the 15th and the 30th of June.
Yeah, maximum by end of June they should apply.
Yes. It's really for the students so that they have enough time and they won't be late in arriving here in Montpellier.
Right.
Because it is also the peak season for visa applications,
Of
especially
course, so it will take a longer time, than
Yes.
usual.
Yes. They will also have to book the VFS appointment, which
Yes.
are only eligible if there are the slots available.
Yes.
So,
Right.
um,
Okay, so
So
I
if
think one just last thing you can inform them about
Sure,
the
sure.
accommodation or the housing thing. That
Mhm.
if they can get the accommodation letter just for visa purpose, or they need to book actual accommodation before visa.
Yes. So once they have been accepted and they have paid the 3,000 euro deposit, we have a separate department which is called the incoming team that will provide them with with an accommodation letter for their student visa. But Campus France usually requires an address in France, and they will need to have at least temporary accommodations. Please correct me if I'm wrong, for at least 3 months.
No, that's right.
Of course.
Most
They will-
probably they are looking just for 1 month. So 1 month accommodation, it's fine nowadays.
Okay, so
So-
if 1 month, yes, of course you're more familiar with the Campus France,
But
with the
But
Campus France
just to add
procedure.
here, it's always better to have this accommodation from a reliable source. So
Of
maybe
course.
Airbnb may not be the best option.
Mm.
So in case they book a hotel or homestay, that would be more convenient than an Airbnb. In case they face visa rejections due to this circumstance. So it's always better to have the accommodation locked in, and this is the reason why we say the student needs to apply at the earliest is to look for
Exactly.
accommodation,
Mm.
because as you're aware, Montpellier is a student city, so there's a lot of competition essentially for the same accommodation that the student.
And not just coming from international students, there are also a lot of local French students who come to Montpellier to study. So if they start looking for accommodations in July, it will be very difficult. I mean, not impossible,
Yeah.
but very difficult and challenging. So ideally, yes, the earlier they can submit their applications, the better, because they have more time to prepare and to look for accommodations. along with all the other visa requirements that they will need to submit to Campus Trans.
Right. So just for visa purpose, they can get the accommodation letter from school, right? It's
Yes,
just
they
for
have-
visa purpose.
Yes, they have that, but from our experience, Campus Trans will also ask for, a
Yeah,
legitimate.
they may.
A
Yeah. So
contract.
it's better if
Address.
they have proper. Yeah. Right.
Yes. Plus, it's always better for the student because you
Yes.
don't want any last minute confusion at the end where the student
Hmm.
has the visa, but he or she does not have
A place
accommodation.
to stay.
Yeah. I think we have one query from Ramesh regarding scholarship in the chat box.
Caria, is there any scholarship available for this intake?
Yes, for this intake, the MBS scholarship of either 1 or 2,000 euros is still open. And again, this will depend on the overall quality, so the score of their application results. It's still open until the deadline. So of course, there is a limit with the number of scholarships that we give. So in addition to all the Campus Trans stuff and all the accommodations questions, the earlier they apply, the higher the chances are that they will receive a scholarship, but of course, depending on the quality of their application. Yes. But I think for CHARPAC from Campus France, it's already too late. Same for Eiffel Scholarship from the French Embassy and the French Foreign Ministry. It's already too late. For local Indian government scholarships, there might be still some that are open, but of course you will know better than we do in terms of the local scholarships from the Indian government.
Are there any other questions? Anything? Himali,
Okay,
if you
so I
have any
think
questions.
yeah, most of the
Most
queries have been
welcome.
sorted out. Yeah. Okay, then too, if we have any, then definitely I will ping you by
Of
WhatsApp or
course.
by email. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I would like to thank both of you for giving your time and for
Thank
giving
you
the
for the
detailed
invitation.
information. Yeah,
My
my
pleasure.
pleasure. Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Himali.
Vivek. Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for joining, Mr. Amar. Thank you so much for joining, everybody.
Thank you,
It was
everyone.
a pleasure interacting with you, and we look forward to the next session.
Yes.
Have a
Yeah,
lovely
looking
day ahead.
forward for a good number of applicants.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much,
All
all
right.
of you.
Thank
Everyone will be working hard until the deadline. So yeah.
Of course. Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
you.
Have
All
a
right.
nice day.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Merci, thank you.